looking at my own mother, I think she has the biggest heart I know in the world. I think she loves deeply. She's extremely protective of her children, but she was also a serious disciplinarian. If you did something that she wasn't in agreement with, she'd even chase you around. But despite doing that, if someone else wronged her child, I remember several occasions, if you'd come home and say, the teacher's beaten me, a question would be like, what did you do? In assessment, if they had no business caning you, and what you did warranted maybe talking to, things like that, the teacher would be in trouble. So I'll give you, there are several instances. And at school, they used to say, go bring your mother, not your father, to all of us in the family. So I'll give you just one example. There are several. But I recall this particular example. This particular teacher disliked me. I don't know why. So I had some cousins. So me and my siblings, let's put it like that, were in the same class. We were 4 of us in the same class. So one of my brothers, I don't know, the teacher seemed to like him. And then the rest and one of my cousin sisters. But me and my other sister, they would even hide her book sometimes and say she's lost it, and an excuse to find why to punish you. So this particular day, I asked the teacher if I could go out for a short call. And she said no. So I went back and sat. And one of the boys, this was P4, one of the boys went and asked, and they allowed him. Another person went, they allowed them. So I said, okay, maybe my timing was wrong. Let me go back. The lady said no again. Someone else went, they allowed them. They said, please teacher, can I go out for a short call, those things? 4 times. So now, me being me, after she refused the first time, and I was really pressed. There were a few minutes to break, but I'm like, no. So I let her go on the chair. So the kids started jumping and shouting, yeah, so. And the thing snaked its way down the corridor into the class. I used to sit somewhere, maybe within the first quarter of the front. So from that point going backwards, the susu flew, and it was a lot. So they told everyone to get out, and the teacher beat me and rolled me in my susu. They gave me a mopper and bucket to clean, which I did. And then break time came, and I just literally ran home. Then we didn't stay too far from school. I ran, and I came back with my mom. We just reached the door and said, which one? And I'm like, that one. Oh, pop! Slaps. That. So for me, that's motherhood. And I think I'm a bit like that. I'm extremely protective of my children. I can beat them if they do something wrong, but to get me to hit them, it really has to be something extreme. And I'm not a very patient person, but with my kids I've learned patience. Yeah. So I'm like a lioness like that, and I saw this from my mom. But when you meet my mom, you wouldn't see that in her. You wouldn't suspect. Now my dad, who seems very tough and he's very held back when it comes to his kids. But also with him, when it came to trouble at school, he's someone who likes logic. He'd listen. I heard this kid has done what, and I said, okay, let's go home. He will defend you. My dad doesn't believe in embarrassing his child in public. He will defend you with all his life. And then you get home, then he gets his kiboko. You're in trouble. So when he over-defends in public, it's not necessarily that he's agreeing, but he'll not allow for his child or him to be embarrassed because of his child in public. He will defend the child. And if they say maybe those requirements that school used to have, I say, no, let's go home. I understand. You give him a suspension. Let's go home. And so it was always like that. Then also, there are always moments where my mom is strangely liberal. You want to go and dance at whatever age, she'll even walk with you, which my dad would say no. So she was like a big sister you sneaked around with. When we want to go dancing, there's a party at the neighbors, my dad will say no. My mom will say, you go, I'll hold fort. But I'm giving you so many minutes. So every so often you run back. And she's like, oh, daddy's sleeping, you run back. Or she will now come and signal, you guys come back home. So it was that kind of motherhood that for me I witnessed. Like, she's strict about certain things. She was very strict about school, about reading. She would even lock you up in a store so that you read. She wanted the best. She would really push you to the limits. But she was very protective at the same time, very giving at the same time. And her children's friends are her friends. So for me, that's how I saw motherhood. She believed in teaching you how to do things. Yes. So that, growing up in a very huge family, that's how I understood motherhood. But at the same time, I've never really been attracted to motherhood. Even now, I don't feel very attracted to motherhood. But I love my kids. So I always feel like I don't like kids. They're too much work. I still feel kids are too much work. And when everyone fussed about a newborn and offered to babysit, for me, I babysat under coercion. So yeah, kids are not my thing. Even when I went into broadcast and they gave me a children's program, I'm like, oh my God, this is so much work. That's what I always feel about motherhood. Like, it's so much work. I'm a bit impatient. I'm playful, but again, a bit on the serious side. So I can be quite impatient, and kids are delicate and things like that. Yes. So several years later, I think I first became a mother at 32. And while I always say I want 2 kids and no husband, I don't know why. I said I want 2 kids and no husband. Because of course, growing up in a polygamous family, even if my dad is my best friend, I'm really not comfortable with polygamy, because again, there's how you want your stuff, how you picture being with this man and him alone and what. So the issue of sharing him can be complicated. And then growing up, I just realized maybe it's impossible for men to be monogamous. From all the men I saw around me, starting with my dad, and when my brother started dating, they were always in trouble, and they always came to me, oh, help me talk to so and so to plead their case. So I just grew up knowing men are incapable of being monogamous. However nice it seems, like my mom, she was always honey, honey, honey. We didn't even know her name for donkey's years. But still they cheated on her. So, and other women came on board. So for me, I was always like, I want 2 kids and no husband. But I just never came round, even when I had a steady relationship. I just never came round to have a child. And sometimes there are those moments like, hey, but you refused to have my baby. Like, I took everything to hold the goal. And both my kids, it was always accidental. Like, one day I'm there and I'm expecting. And my reaction wasn't like, oh, I'm pregnant. I'm like, oh my God, my life is screwed. But something special happens when I have the baby. I remember the first time I had a child, and they put him in my arms, and my attitude just changed. I know how kids can look not so attractive when they're newly born, but for me, I just saw the most marvelous thing on earth. And I held on to my son like this. I have 2 sons, even the other one. And when they would try to take him away, I wouldn't want to let go. I know all these horror stories of how they steal babies. No, but first bring him back. And I look at him again, just in case you give me a different baby. Like, as soon as the baby was out, the bond instantly, like, just came, and I would do anything. I would do anything for my boys. But another thing it taught me is patience. I can be very, very impatient. But with my kids, like, I tolerate so much rubbish. And my kids are all challenging. They question everything. They want answers. They're kids you just don't scream at. You explain to them why they have to do that, or why you're going to punish them because what they did is not right. Because I've told you 3 times about this and you're not listening to me. So both my boys are a bit like that. The older one is a bit more reserved, while the other one is a bit more aggressive. Everyone says that's me. So yes, he's very, very demanding, very, very aggressive. Also, they've taught me patience. For my first child, I even remember I was teaching mass communication in Makerere, and sometimes I would take him to class. He's very behaved. He will sit and listen and things like that. And sometimes would even demand to go up to class and also teach. ask the students something. These are university kids, so they used to call him Teacher Danny. But something would always happen when I had my son in class, and so my students would sort of, and at first I didn't know why. So when is our teacher coming again? Sometimes the master's class or the undergraduate class. But one time one of my students told me, you know, doctor, when your son is in class, you're so different. You're really calm, you're nice, you're more tolerant. But when your son is not in class, hey, doctor, you're so tough. So I realized it's not so much that they wanted my son to sit in class, but it's like my kids mellow me down, and I'll do whatever possible it is for them. So my kids have taught me patience, which attributes maybe have also helped as I matured and as I've grown to my work life. My kids have made me become friends with people I would never be friends with. You know, for me, I take time to be friendly to people. I could go into a workshop for 2 weeks and I come out and I didn't make friends. I'll say hello and sit. Yes, I'm that kind of person. And yet, I can be very friendly, I can be very bubbly, I talk a lot and things like that. But I take long to warm up to people. Normally when I enter a place for the first time, a new job, I like to just sit back and watch people. I'm not in a rush to befriend anyone, and I'm perfectly okay with that. I really take time. But I've had cases either we're at a restaurant, we are somewhere, and my son befriends a kid on the next table. And they tell me, Mommy, you know how you tell your kid, can you say hello to uncle? Now my kid said, Mommy, can you say hello to so-and-so's friend? Can you exchange numbers? Because I would like to talk to so-and-so. So I've had cases where my kids have forced me to quickly make friends with other people, even in circumstances where I wouldn't have made friends with them. Now, I think that kicks in even right from pregnancy. There's a way you sense things and you always want to protect your stomach. And for some reason, I don't know why people want to touch people's bellies when they're expecting. I would literally box you if you did that. So there's that instinct where I used to be like an extremely fast driver. Actually, my brothers would call me, they used to be Karim Herigi. They used to be that very fast driver. So my brothers used to call me that. But when I am driving with my kids in the car, I automatically slow down. Where I would do 100, I could be at 60, you know? So there's that immediate instinct to protect that other being. Sometimes someone is just trying to be friendly, like a stranger, and I would just come and even be rude. Yes? Why are you talking to my child? Why are you asking them? Why are you asking them that? Like I'm very, yeah, there are those instincts where you can sense something is negative, something is wrong. I've had cases where my kid is at school and I'm very uneasy at work or wherever I am, and I keep thinking about my child and I think something is wrong with them, and I'll just get up sometimes and drive to my son's school, even the one who is in high school. And sometimes you find that the child is sick, the child is unwell, or I don't know, something is not right, or he was offended in some or things like that. So yes, I have cases when I just feel something is not right, and 90% my instincts are right about what I'm feeling. Sometimes I could travel and I just feel something is wrong at home, something is wrong with the people I left my kids with, and I will call. And I'll call several times and I'll call, and you'll find something is not right with a child, or someone is harassing the child. So there's that instinct about, there's a connection. It's almost like what they say about twins, like they can read each other's minds. I think mothers are a bit like that. You can sense. Sometimes when my child is going to get ill, I sense something. There's a disturbance. You know how your heart can be beating, you're feeling nervous and you don't know why. You're like, something is wrong, something is going to be wrong. Is the child okay? And maybe in the night the kid is actually sick. Yeah. So it's real, but I think it is the extent to which we allow ourselves to listen to that instinct. Sometimes you just brush it off, and then something else, like, oh, I actually felt something was wrong with this kid, actually felt something weird about this kid, or I dreamt this would happen and comes to pass. So I think it's to what extent we allow ourselves to listen to that instinct. Before I had a child, I was very judgmental about mothers and their attitude to their children. Yeah, like for instance, if you call someone for a job interview and they turned up with a child, I would be irritated. And I'm like, if on this one day you couldn't find where to leave your child to come and attend the interview, how about if I give you the job? Will you be coming with your child to work every day? When we would pick kids at school, I would be judgmental about parents. Like at this time, kids, you hear it is 7 and the kids are still at school. I'd be judgmental about things like that. But as time passed by, I realized that motherhood is a whole lot of work. It is one big mess, and somehow we just survive. We wander our way through and get off on the other side. When you have this grown-up human being, you're like, wow, how did I even get here? For instance, today is my son's birthday. One of my sons, the younger one, is made 8 years. But you know, I'm like, how did I even get him to 8 years? Am I even doing the right thing? There's that aspect of you're always unsure, yes? And sometimes you think you're doing your best and your child tells you you're a bad mom. You didn't come for my class meeting. You didn't come for what? Then me being very, very protective of my child, my older child one time banned me from coming to class meetings. Or he promised not to tell me anything again because of the way I react. He would ask me to promise upon my honor, pinky promise or bluey promise, as the younger one prefers to say it, like pinky's girl, then we do this. Because if they tell me the teacher did this, my goodness, I would lose it. I would come for that teacher, come for the teacher, go for the head teacher. Like the whole school would be in trouble because my child has been wronged. And so my son started making me promise. And I realized the way I react in the process of trying to be protective, sometimes I closed that window of closeness. Yeah, you know, where my son was extremely open to me, but because of their reactions, like, I think I better not tell this to my mom because she'll come and shoot everyone and embarrass him. So I had to start promising that I won't lose my head. I will listen calmly. He just wants me to know. He doesn't want me to do anything about it. But you should know. I want you to know I'm not happy at school, or this teacher harassed me, or just change my school. That sort of thing. And I'm like, no, I don't want to change your school. Those teachers should treat you better. So sometimes I've been forced to swallow it. So I think my kids have taught me that. They put me in check, even in cases where I would have dealt things differently. Then there's another funny incident where, you know, when you have a support system and you think you're managing, and you wonder why others don't have a support system. Someone may be selling G-nuts on the street. Why are they sitting there with a crawling baby? But sometimes you just don't have that. And I've had points in my life where I haven't had that. Or the support system you have is not reliable. So I recall one time I used to teach Makerere, mass communication. The master's classes are evening classes. And I drove by Kampala Parents after Makerere. Imagine Makerere, you come and pass Kampala Parents, Kololo, I'm driving to Kira. And I'm like, oh, I wonder how Danny's day was at school, because I'm passing by his school. And I drove thinking about my child, and I expected my brother to have picked my son from school. So I drive all the way to Nigeria, to my brother's home, outside the gate, and I call him and I'm like, oh, I'm out here, bring the boy. And my brother asked me, which boy? That was really, really, really pushing my button. I had one child. Which other boy would I be looking for? Then I'm like, of course, Danny. Yeah? Who else which other boy or child would I be looking for? Then I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't have him. You're like, what? You didn't pick my son from school, So I turned my car around like a mad person and drive. Imagine driving from Nigeria back to Kampala Parents. It's now 9:30 going to 10 p.m. and my child is at school. And I thought my child was in a safe place. I almost died. I don't know, my heart, my soul left my body. And then my brother's there. You wait for me, we go together. I'm like, shut up. What do you mean we let's go together? How come you didn't think about this child? But you can't really. I mean, yes. So, but you also have cases when you forget. And so we get back to school, and the kid was okay playing in the main hall all by himself at 10 p.m. I just wanted to die. But for him, he was happy and he was okay. And somehow, when you're teaching, my phone was on silence, all these alternative numbers, no one was speaking. And I just stopped judging those people. I say, how can your child be at school at this time? And even more recently, my younger child, you know how you make arrangements, you've even got a special, I am not around. We're in the field and I'm called at 7 p.m. And I'm asked, aren't you people coming for Zach today? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, Zach is still at school. It's like, oh, this guy who should have picked my son. And he's like, hey, what do you mean, hey? Zach is still at school. But no, because they think you won't find out, you're miles away. But the school has my number, yeah? So things like that make you wonder, like when you're traveling, should you get your child out of school and travel with them? Like, it's very troubling. It's really challenging to have to balance this. But it also makes you now less judgmental. So I don't know if I had a more female support system. Me and women, I don't know, somehow we fail to. So most of my support system are normally male, but men are not as emotional as women are. Or men don't feel like mothers. So when I'm really losing it about the kid being picked late from school, or the kid having been forgotten at school, the guy is like, yeah, that happens. He'll mature. He's a boy, and that thing like he's a boy. And I only have boys. I'm like, what do you mean he's a boy? He's a child, So we feel differently. And like I always just want to kill someone, and I'm so mad I don't even want to talk to them. But the kid is okay. And yeah. So that has made me less judgment about people and how they bring up their kids and the mistakes that happen as you go along. And you see, my mom left her job and decided to stay home to take care of us. And I always tell her, why did you quit your job? You should be working, because when you have both parents working, there's also that extra benefit of things that daddy will refuse. Mama will be like, don't mind him, because she has money, she'll just go and buy it, and you have it. But when you have one source of income, then mommy has to ask daddy for this thing that he has already said no to. So there's always that debate. So my mom, I appreciate her more than ever before after I became a mother. That sacrifice she gave to quit her job and look after her children. Because when moments like this happen, I feel like, you know what, I should quit my job and I just stay home and take care of my baby. It comes to you. So that can be quite tough when your child is unwell. I also struggle with when other people punish my children. Like if my child told me a teacher beat them at school, my goodness, I really lose it. I struggle with that. Like, how dare you? Yes, I brought my child here in the hope that you'll protect them, you teach them, but instead you're beating them. Like, I can't tolerate that. But also, those moments when you feel like you're alone with your child and you don't have support. Like for me, in my case, when the father of my child died, and for me, I didn't even realize, like, I shifted completely and paid attention to the baby and forgot the older child, yet they also need equal attention. So it taught me to be aware. I think for me, I'm that person, if I love like so deeply this one thing, like I'll put my energy in it, and I don't care about what else is around. In equal measure, if I dislike completely. I rarely have middle ground for people. I either like you or I don't like you. It is really hard for me to just be neutral to people. But my kids have taught me to balance my love, because now these are two men fighting for one woman's attention. How do you balance that? Still show the other that I love you, but I also love your brother. I love you both. And sometimes they ask you those tricky questions, especially the younger one. Of the two of us, who is the preferred one? Like, you're both the preferred one. I mean, come on, choose one. Especially the young one, he likes me choosing one. Yeah, so you've got to learn to balance that. So I think that is something I've learned from being a mother. I've learned to give more to others. I think at a certain point in my life it was about me and what I want. Very driven, maybe by ambition and things like that. I really didn't care what the other person thought. That is what I want to do. That is where I want to go. I want to go out tonight. I've informed you. Yeah. But my kids have a lot of say in what I do on a daily. Yes, sometimes I have to leave work earlier than I would have chosen. You know, I'm a bit of a workaholic, but my kids have made me learn to stop work. Yeah, put boundaries to work. Like I'm someone who could work around the clock just to deliver something. But my kids have taught me to remember that there's something more to life than work. Yeah? You don't have to really be at work and finish this. You also must go home and attend to other things. So because of my kids, I always remember to stop. Like I must stop here and go. I'll pick up from here tomorrow. So being able to reprioritize things in life, and it's not just about what you want to achieve, but also being very particular, and having kids who are, I think, even more particular than me, teaches you to know that it is okay. You don't have to be perfect, because there are several times my kids disappoint me. Maybe at school, having been generally an A student, sometimes when your kids perform poorly at school, you're like, really? Me to give birth to kids? Do these guys who don't care about school? My kids hate school. It is a struggle each morning to get them to school. Then in boarding school, it's a struggle when it's time to take him back to school. It's a struggle to get him back to school when the holiday is over. When I go on a visiting day, my son doesn't want me to leave. He might not necessarily be chatting with me, but the fact that mommy is right there, it makes a lot of difference for them.
It's just being a boy protective. So
yes, they're very possessive, both of them. Like when males come to my home, I'm asked a lot of questions. Who is that? What do they want? I remember there was a guy from my church. I don't know what they call that in English. This those
Reverend.
No, they're not reverends. They are someone
Somber type.
Okay, let me say a pastor for lack of a better word. But in the Protestant church, there's the reverend, and then there's this other pseudo-reverend who is not an ordained reverend, but normally can lead the prayers and things like that. So I recall one of those guys used to often come home to pray, or like, oh doctor, we are coming this Sunday, or we're coming this Saturday, or this Friday evening to pray at home. So one time my son asked me, Mommy, I hope you're not planning to be a preacher's wife. Are you dating this guy? And he asked in front of the reverend. So that was the end of the prayers. People coming home to pray for me. Yes, but when they can ask, are you, if there's another woman with the men, they can say, are you cheating on my mom? A friend of mine one time came home and was talking to the dad, and my son came and asked, are you cheating on my mom with auntie? I almost mentioned my friends. It was a very embarrassing moment. Well, and but sometimes they say kids have this instinct and X-ray eyes. So I don't know if there's something the kids saw that I did, but then it made me wake up like, I should pay more attention to the two of you, So they're very protective of me like that. So those are some of the things they brought to my life. But I think also because they are boys, there are certain assumptions that I made about men and being an activist, a woman activist, there are things, oh, men just do this deliberately and things. And my question is always like, okay, are men sometimes born like this? They've challenged my perception of men. And sometimes I wonder, did God do this deliberately? Because of what I accuse men of and say, no, you do. You know, men are definitely very different from women. And I have two boys. And there are things I'm like, wait a minute, maybe this is natural. Men are born like this. Because I'm like, I'm a woman, I'm a single mom, and I've always said if I have a boy, I'll nurture them like this, they'll think like this. Hey, it's a totally different story. So I think I'm appreciating the male being better because my boys have challenged my perception of men. Because they do the things I've always challenged, the things I thought men did deliberately. So I think men have a certain nothing box. They can just be there unbothered about certain things and think about things certain way, while women we attach a lot of emotion and meaning with certain things. And the guy is just there, he's happy in his nothingness. And women were always like, what are you thinking about? I think about something else and things like this. And the boy, come on mom, I don't know, chilling out. Mommy, calm down. So they've taught me to be calm about certain things, not to be too judgmental, but also just to appreciate that men are like that. They're that kind of creature, and women, you're that kind of creature.